Okay, so we are talking about lower first molar anatomy. So if you look into the lower first molar, it's what I call is it's like a flower petal. So what happened is if you look into, so this is a 3-6,
Okay.
right? So the way the flower petals get arranged, so one petal goes under the another petal. So this cusp also, the lower molars usually have 5 cusp. So this is mesiolingual, mesiobuccal, distobuccal, distal, and distolingual. And it looks like they are overlapping each other like flower petal. Okay, so the distolingual and mesiobuccal, those two, if you imagine those two as a petal, they go at the bottom, and then comes the mesiolingual, and distal is on the bottom of distobuccal, and distobuccal comes on top of all other cusp. So the tip of the distobuccal is actually visible. All other tip of the cusp are not visible, so they are like overlapping one under another. So when you are doing the anatomy, making the amalgam or composite, you have to make sure those the anatomy, that the distobuccal cusp tip is showing, all other cusp tip are not showing. They are like looking like they are under the overlapping one under another. Okay, so another anatomy we have to remember that so according to criteria, you have to make sure the cusp tip and cusp positioning. So in lower first molar, mesiobuccal and mesiolingual cusp tip, they are in the same line. Okay, they are in the same line and they are parallel to the marginal ridge. So your mesial marginal ridge is your reference point, and if you replicate the probe and bring it here, and then you will find that this cusp tip are parallel to the mesial marginal ridge. But if in case it's distal, the distal is not parallel. So if you look into the cusp tip of the distobuccal and the distolingual, see it's kind of 0.5 millimeter away, the distolingual cusp tip. So this is our distobuccal cusp tip, and then this is our distolingual cusp tip, right? It's not parallel. See?
Mesial always be parallel.
Yeah.
Both cusp.
Yeah. And then we have to so this is our cusp tip, and then other criteria is the cusp height. Okay, so if you place the probe, so when you look into the jaw, these are, none of them are ideal. Give me another lower jaw which has the
I just brought up I also did the same.
Okay, so this is if you look into this jaw, we know that we have that curve of Spee that runs from here, and then it goes up at the incisal edge, and then it goes again. So it kind of like a curve, like curve of Spee.
Yep.
And the curve of Wilson is the vertical curve that comes from here to here, here to here, right? So the curve of Spee is there. So if you want to measure the height of the cusp, you cannot do like all three at the same time because of the curve of Spee. So you reference, so when you're checking, check with the premolar, and then again check with the molar. So both of the time the cuspal height has to be equal. Okay, so you run your probe with the premolar, and then you run your probe with the second molar. Both of the time it has to be equal. This is also this side equal. Okay, and then this side it has to be equal. Only except for upper molar 1/5. So in the 1/5 is the palatal cusp is shorter than the adjacent cusp. Both ways. This is, you cut it already. So when we get the 1/5 palatal missing, then make sure that it is 1 millimeter shorter. Okay.
We did last time.
Yeah. So this is our lower molar anatomy. So and then we talk about the M and Y. Yeah. So we have to, when you are carving lingually, you have to do the M. So come from distal. So that's your M. Okay. And then first you do your M, carve from this and then this, and then you create the negative space and then your positive space. So you finish with the mesial fossa here, right? And then your marginal ridge will be built up automatically. And then first you do your M and then do your Y. So this is your Y. Okay. So this is your distobuccal, and then you'll see the distobuccal tip is on the top of everything, right?
This is the M.
Yeah.
And this is Y.
Yep. Okay. And then we have to make sure that the contact point is the placed positioning and the width of the contact and the tightness and looseness of the contact, right? Okay. With the upper molar, let's just talk about the anatomy of upper molar. So upper molar anatomy is bit weird. I find it's the most weird, complicated one. Especially the plastic tooth, when they try to replicate the cusp of carabelli also. Forget about cusp of carabelli. Look into the 7. So there is no cusp of carabelli. So there are 3 main cusps. So the mesiobuccal, then distobuccal, and then the mesiolingual. And then there is your palatal. Okay? So these 3 are kind of facing each other. So this one and this one side by side, and then this one, the mesiolingual, then it will be facing towards the distobuccal. Okay, and then they will make this ridge, our mesial marginal ridge, and it is very important because this is a very important structure of our upper molar, the mesial marginal ridge. We have to maintain the mesial marginal ridge. Okay. Yeah.
And you have to learn the anatomy first for the upper 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Without learning, you can't do the.
Like for any tooth,
Yeah.
you have to know the anatomy. Otherwise, you cannot replicate the anatomy.
But the 7 and 6 is trickiest one.
Trickiest one because we have to do it in direct vision, and then there is the gravity and your hand moves differently on the upper than the lower, carving wise. So this is very tricky. So do it outside the mouth on the benchtop first, few times, and then move inside the mouth.
The other thing I thought that I'll take the teeth front and back out, then it's easy.
Yeah. That the way that you did is easy also because you can see the anatomy and then you are not nicking the adjacent.
I wasn't sure that which burrs to use, so I used the Fisher burr, but it was like the angulated one. What do we call that one?
That one, the chamfer burr.
Chamfer burr, yeah. I think so.
Okay, so this is our anatomy and the marginal. So anatomy wise, premolar. Then I'll talk about premolar. I'll finish the anatomy. Then I'll, in a separate clip, I'll explain the criteria. Okay. So premolar, we get 1/4 MOD with the buccal cusp missing. So premolar anatomy, we talked a little bit when we did the composite. So it has the 2 cusps. And there is this central groove. We have to make sure the central groove is coinciding, and the cusp tip will be same. So you again follow the same. Okay, and then there should be first plane and the second plane. Okay, for both sides, and the marginal ridge needs to be.
But planes, you mean these areas?
Yeah. So planes, by planes I mean this area. So if we divide our tooth into 2 halves, so this half is one plane, the cervical plane, and this is the buccal plane.
Okay.
So these 2 planes actually have different angulation. So the cervical plane is actually parallel to the long axis of the tooth, and the occlusal plane is actually tilted towards occlusal. Yeah. So we have to make sure all the teeth has, when we do the restoration, we have the planes also, okay? And then marginal ridge. Yeah, that's premolar anatomy is simple, right? Yeah. So that's our amalgam, first molar, lower first molar, upper first molar, and second molar. They do give 2-7 as well, and then premolar anatomy.